Awesome, let's continue with our lesson. So we finished watching a mega long video, 17 minutes long. I sincerely apologize, I forgot how long it was, but it's very good. And in our notes, I have several slides here breaking down the important information. So one thing I've learned since the last time I've taught this class, particularly, some students every now and then will ask me, well, Mr. Khawaja, what is the difference between classical liberalism and modern liberalism? We start to see modern liberalism emerge around the 1800s with the Industrial Revolution. Part of the reason for that is because prior or during the early parts of the Industrial Revolution, they were exploring this idea of liberalism, of economic and personal freedom, and they kind of just let it run rampant, right? Kind of like letting kindergartners run free in a gym. If you do that for too long, someone's going to get hurt. Two kids are going to run into each other. It's going to be a lot of paperwork, okay? So eventually, like what we saw in the video, when people were going to work and they were having their arms and legs ripped up. I mean, I don't know if you recall, the video mentioned this one girl, she got chewed up by a machine. She got crushed, all her bones were broken, her head splattered like a watermelon. Imagine you see that at work. Do you really want to go back the next day?
No.
No. So I have a friend, he's from Brazil. He's an engineer, and he did what do they call it? He worked in a steel factory for a bit, just as an internship to learn about the manufacturing industry. And he mentioned that not long before he got there, some guy died because some equipment malfunctioned, fell and killed him. So in the manufacturing realm, there can be a lot of injuries. And so the question with modern liberalism, particularly on the economic side, is if you get hurt at work, what is the government's responsibility and the owner of the company? What is their responsibility to you? If I walk across the stage and I slip and I fall and I crack my head open, who is going to help me? Raise your hand. It's terrible. None of you raise your hand too. Thank you. Let's go. Okay, so I'll live. But what should the school? This guy's shaking his head no. You'd get up, you'd walk right by, you'd leave like, oh, class is over. Teacher's hurt. What should the school board do? Right? I mean, some of you have jobs. If you're working and you're deep frying some stuff and it burns your hand, does your company owe you money?
Yeah.
Should they pay for your injuries? Potentially, right? Yeah. Well, if you just dunk your hand in there to see what'll happen, maybe that's your fault. Maybe you have I shouldn't say that. Maybe something's going wrong up here, right? So, anyways, Industrial Revolution, we see division of labor. So there's, instead of just one person creating a thing, there's several people making small parts. So 7 people have a job. They're all making money, which is a good thing for these people. There's new inventions, right? We have a bunch of inventions down there. We'll talk about a couple of them, okay? There's new food. And food is great, isn't it? We love our nutrition bin. Isn't it wonderful? These grade 9s roaming around. Let's throw nutrition bin stuff at them, okay? Food is great. It gives you energy. More energy means you can work more. You can work harder potentially, right? As my guy pulls snacks out of his jacket, right? Nothing better than a mid-class snack, right? Eat a little bit of food, your brain gets working. So in Europe particularly, they were seeing better and newer food. Okay, there was also new food preparation methods. It's very normal to us. How many of you microwave your food? Right? How many of you heat it up, right? Heating up food kills the bacteria and the germs. It makes it cleaner to eat. Now, we live in a very sanitary society. It's very clean. You can drink water right out of the tap. It's not going to give you diarrhea. It's not going to give you a disease. But back in the day, they didn't have that. So there's new food cooking preparation methods, and there's new inventions. Okay, particularly, I want to look at the steam engine and the water frame. So the water frame is basically a device you put into a river. It has some surfaces. So as the river moves, it circles and spins this water frame. That is connected to parts of the factory. It produces energy and production based on the river moving, right? Nowadays, we call that hydroelectricity. You build a dam or you build some sort of system inside the water, the river moves, it turns, it spins a turbine, and that produces electricity, right? More or less, it's, emissions free. It doesn't produce CO2. but it does disrupt the environment to an extent, especially when you build a dam. Another major invention is this steam engine. Okay, has anyone ever ridden a horse? A couple of us. Has anyone like ridden a horse to travel between two cities? No. You have? Well, that's a lot. Okay. I imagine it takes a long time. It's probably uncomfortable, and you know the horse isn't a machine. It needs to eat. It needs water. It needs rest. You can't just. Well, the interesting thing about horses, you don't do this, kids, but you can run them to death. They will literally run and just collapse. Don't do that though. That's very inhumane. A car, on the other hand, you know, you can drive at 120 kilometers an hour for a day, as long as you have enough gas. And once you're done driving it for a day, you fill it up with more gas, you can keep driving it. So steam engines just revolutionized how you could do work, right? It's a mechanical item. They use coal, steam powered, and they're using these like big trains to get across the country. And they're now, eventually they start building cars with it, vehicles, and a bunch of other things. Okay. On the labor front, again, this is just notes from the video. Labor costs were kept low due to the high failure rate of running a business. They used unpaid orphans. So if your mom and dad died at work, well, listen, kid, you got a bright future ahead of you at the same factory your mom and dad died at. Okay, they put the kid to work. They enslaved people as well. Although it should be added here, grade 12s, that slavery didn't begin like in Europe when the Industrial Revolution started. You know, slavery is a very ancient thing, like thousands of years old. Okay. Women were potentially unequally paid in a variety of places as well. Okay. Second point there emphasizes that there's a lot of hazardous conditions of work. It's very unsafe, it's very dangerous. You could lose an arm, a leg, a life. There is a intense profit motive. They're trying to make money. Which, you know, if you're a business owner, there are some other philosophers, political thinkers, they say if you're running a business, your goal should be to make money. If you're running a business, your goal shouldn't be to change public opinion, to have a political leaning, a bias. You should be designing a product, a service, and making money off of it. You shouldn't be trying to change what the government's doing. This kind of stuff. Okay. I'm very curious, like, what are you four doing? What class are you in? Just wandering around in the hallways. Yeah, you up there. Industry is thriving due to the lack of regulation and support for workers. I don't necessarily know if I still agree with that, but industry would be thriving because there are people to sell to and people have money. You know, if you have no money, you can't buy anything, and if you have money, you can buy stuff. If stuff is being made and you have money, you're likely to buy it. Just continuing on with the steam engine, that third point, with better technology, you have better methods of producing things, which means that you have more production, just more stuff. You see the different classes begin to emerge as well, and so this is one of the big issues that modern liberalism attempts to tackle. You know, what do you do with inequality? Okay, if one of us, okay, so there's like 30 of us in the classroom, let's say. So let's just say, for easy math, 1% is 3, or is one person. Okay, so one of us has 80% of the wealth, all the money. You know, that's funny. Okay. What do you do with the rest of the money split amongst everyone, you know? What do you do when a percentage of people, potentially half, don't have enough money or food to survive? They're struggling every day. How do you solve that problem? Do you solve that problem? Mr. 1% over there is saying shoot them? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, you are SOL, folks. And very classical liberal ideas might agree with that. Like, hey, if you don't know how to manage your money, if you can't be productive, you are SOL, pal. Like, good luck. But what happens when, you know, 20% of your population is homeless? I mean, you guys were just mentioning the basketball team finished their game, went to a McDonald's, there's somebody tweaking on hard drugs and harassing people. Imagine if everywhere you went, there were several people doing that. Is that a safe environment?
Well, it's like, I'm in Detroit.
Yeah, clearly we're in Detroit all of a sudden, right? Is that a compassionate or humane thing to have in our society? We want to be able to take care of people, and we want people to be able to take care of themselves as well. We'll just move on.
Okay. Wait, no.
Yes.
What's up?
I'm still writing.
Man, all these notes are online. Don't worry. Okay, we gotta get through this. Okay. So the life of women was changed during the Industrial Revolution. They went from working alongside their husbands or doing spinning and weaving to doing hard labor jobs. Honestly, sounds like a bad trade-off. You know, they went from working and building maybe their home life or whatever the family was doing to, you know, they mentioned in the video some cases of young children, young female children working in a mine, like with a pickaxe. Like you kids remember the movie Ants? Like what Z was doing with the pickaxe, except, you know, Z was an adult, and his buddy was on the juice with 2 pickaxes. Okay, if you were a child and you had to do that all day, it sounds terrible. You know, hard labor. Eventually, they worked in factories and industrial settings as well. But even with a history of being discouraged at times from work, many women continued to work even when they didn't own their own wages. Okay, so women have had a hard time historically in the economic marketplace for a variety of reasons. And some would say they potentially still do. Okay, and I'm sure there's people who disagree with all of that. Okay, we're wrapping up the section lesson 3. So some takeaways and connections. So after the end of mercantilism, capitalism takes over. Capitalism is an extension of the belief that liberalism should also be part of the economic, the economic realm. Okay, so liberalism is political and social freedom. Capitalism is economic freedom. Government should stay out of business, and individuals should be free to operate their business as they please. It's not for the government to decide how much a person should get paid. It should be up to that person, a negotiation between the person and the employer, employee and employer. What else do I want to add? There's more free trade, there's more competition, there's more markets, more people to sell and buy from or to. There's more specialization, so we're seeing more jobs, more people have opportunities to work and gain employment. There's innovations in technology, improvements. So that last point there, the Industrial Revolution, like most, if not all, revolutions, was a flawed process. It allowed for millions of people to come out of poverty, but many hard lessons were learned on the way. And to this day, you know, people are still being brought out of poverty as the economic, economic realm expands, as more countries are invited to the table of free trade. More and more people are lifted out of poverty. By poverty, I mean like the United Nations standards of, I think, like $1 a day, $1 US a day. So when I was in high school, I want to say that percentage was much higher. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. But since the near 10 years since I graduated high school, there are less poor people on the planet, and that's a good thing. We don't want a lot of people on the planet who make, less than $1 a day. We want to improve their quality of life so that, we could potentially use them as well for more innovation, for better ways of doing things, for better quality of life for everyone. Okay, we will wrap up there.